My own sister destroyed my engagement by getting drunk at our rehearsal dinner and confessing her love for my fiancé in front of 40 wedding guests, including both our families and all our friends. Now he's questioning our entire relationship and wants to cancel the wedding. The wedding is in 3 months. My sister Eliana, 27F, was supposed to give her maid of honor speech at our rehearsal dinner last weekend. Instead, she got completely wasted and confessed to our entire family that she's been in love with my fiancé David, 29M, since the day she met him 4 years ago. I'm Hazel, 25F, and I've been with David for 3.5 years. We got engaged 8 months ago. Eliana has been my closest friend my entire life. We shared everything growing up. When our parents divorced when I was 12 and she was 14, we basically raised each other while mom worked 2 jobs. Eliana helped me through high school, college applications, my first heartbreak, everything. I thought I knew her better than anyone. David and I met through Eliana's college roommate Sarah. Eliana was in her senior year at State, majoring in journalism. I was a sophomore at the community college nearby, studying to transfer to a 4-year school. Eliana lived off campus with Sarah and 2 other girls in this big house that was always full of people. I visited Eliana there probably twice a month. One weekend in October, Eliana invited me to a Halloween party at their house. She had been talking about this guy David for weeks. He was Sarah's friend from her internship at the local newspaper. Eliana kept mentioning how funny he was, how he always brought good snacks to their study sessions, how he helped Sarah fix her computer. She never said she liked him, but the way she talked about him was different. She would smile when she said his name. The night of the party, Eliana spent 2 hours getting ready. She wore this black dress I had never seen before and did her makeup differently. When I asked if she was trying to impress someone, she laughed and said she just wanted to look nice for the party. David showed up around 9. He was tall with dark hair and glasses, wearing a zombie costume that looked like he put it together in 5 minutes. Eliana introduced us, and we talked for maybe 10 minutes about school and work. He was easy to talk to, made jokes that actually made me laugh. Then Sarah dragged him away to meet some other people. I spent most of the party talking to Eliana's other friends. Eliana seemed distracted all night. She kept looking around the room, and I noticed she was watching David a lot. When he was talking to other girls, she would find reasons to walk past their conversations. When someone spilled beer on his shirt, Eliana was the first person to offer him a clean one. Around midnight, David found me in the kitchen getting water. We ended up talking for 2 hours. He told me about his job at the newspaper, his plans to move to the city after graduation. I told him about wanting to transfer to study education. We talked about books, movies, places we wanted to travel. The conversation felt natural, like talking to someone I had known for years. When I was leaving the next morning, David asked for my number. He said he wanted to continue our conversation sometime. I gave it to him without thinking about it. Eliana was still asleep, so I left her a note saying I had fun and would call her later. David texted me the next day asking if I wanted to get coffee. We met that Tuesday at a place near my campus. We talked for 4 hours. He walked me to my car and asked if he could see me again. I said yes. I called Eliana that night to tell her about the coffee date. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said that was great and she was happy for me. Her voice sounded flat, different from her usual excitement when I told her about guys I was interested in. When I asked if something was wrong, she said she was just tired from studying. David and I went on 3 more dates that week. On Friday, he asked if I wanted to be exclusive. I said yes. I was falling for him quickly. He was kind, smart, made me laugh. He remembered small things I told him and asked thoughtful questions about my life. I wanted Eliana to get to know David better since we were getting serious. The next weekend, I brought him to Eliana's house for a movie night. Eliana was polite but distant. She barely talked to David directly, mostly addressed her comments to me or Sarah. When David tried to joke with her the way he joked with everyone else, she would give short answers and look at her phone. Over the next few months, Eliana's behavior around David stayed the same. She was never rude, but she never warmed up to him either. When David and I would visit, she would find excuses to leave the room or invite other people over so she didn't have to talk to him one-on-one. I asked her several times if she had a problem with David. She always said no, she just needed time to get used to me having a serious boyfriend. After Eliana graduated, she moved back home with our mom for a few months before getting a job at a magazine in the next town over. David and I were living together by then. Eliana visited us maybe once a month, always with advance notice, always bringing someone else with her. She never stayed overnight, even though we had a guest room. When David proposed last year, Eliana cried when I called to tell her. She said she was so happy for me and couldn't wait to plan the wedding. She threw herself into maid of honor duties immediately. She researched venues, helped me shop for dresses, organized my bachelorette party. She seemed genuinely excited about the wedding. The engagement party was at our house last spring. Eliana gave a speech about how she had watched me grow up, how she knew I would find someone who appreciated how special I was. She talked about how patient and kind David was, how he made me laugh, how happy she was to welcome him to the family. Everyone cried. David hugged her afterward and thanked her for taking such good care of me all these years. Planning the wedding brought Eliana and David closer. They would text about surprise decorations for me or presents they wanted to buy together. Eliana started staying for dinner when she visited. She and David would talk about work, about books they were both reading. I was relieved they were finally building a relationship. 3 weeks ago, Eliana called me crying. She said she had been dating this guy Marcus for 6 months and thought things were getting serious. Then she found out he was also seeing someone else. She was heartbroken. I invited her to stay with us for a few days to get her mind off things. David was incredibly sweet to Eliana that week. He made her favorite breakfast every morning, rented movies he knew she liked, listened when she wanted to talk about Marcus. He told her she deserved someone who would treat her like she was the only woman in the world. Eliana seemed to cheer up by the end of the week. The rehearsal dinner was last Saturday at David's parents' house. About 40 people were there, both families, the wedding party, close friends. Eliana had been working on her speech for weeks. She practiced it for me the week before, and it was beautiful. She talked about our childhood, how protective we were of each other, how she knew David was the right person for me because of the way he looked at me. Dinner went perfectly. Everyone was laughing, sharing stories, taking pictures. Eliana seemed happy and relaxed. She had 2 glasses of wine during dinner, which was normal for her. After we finished eating, David's dad started the speeches. David's best man went first, then his sister, then my mom. Everyone's speeches were sweet and funny. Then Eliana stood up. She had a piece of paper in her hand with her speech written on it, but she didn't look at it. She started by talking about how much she loved me, how proud she was to be my sister. Then she said she had something she needed to tell everyone. Her voice got shaky. She said she had been keeping a secret for years, and she couldn't keep it anymore. She looked directly at David and said she fell in love with him the night we met. She said she had planned to ask him out at the Halloween party, but then he started talking to me instead. She said she watched us fall in love and never said anything because she didn't want to hurt me. She said every day for the past 3.5 years had been torture, watching the man she loved with her sister. The room went completely silent. David's face went white. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Eliana kept talking. She said she tried to date other people to get over David, but no one compared to him. She said she volunteered to be my maid of honor because she wanted to be close to him, even if it hurt. She said she couldn't stand at the altar and watch me marry him without telling the truth. Then she said she was sorry and ran out of the house. Half the people at the dinner followed her outside. The other half just stared at me and David. David's mom started crying. My mom looked like she wanted to disappear. David and I left immediately. We drove home in complete silence. When we got to our house, David went straight to the guest room and closed the door. I sat in our living room until 3 in the morning, staring at the wall. I haven't talked to Eliana since Saturday night. She's called me 15 times and sent dozens of texts apologizing. She says she was drunk and didn't mean to say any of that in front of everyone. She says she just wanted to tell me privately before the wedding so she could step down as maid of honor. She says she never tried to interfere with our relationship and never would. David has barely spoken to me since Saturday. He goes to work, comes home, eats dinner in silence, goes to bed early. When I try to bring up what happened, he says he needs time to think. Yesterday he asked if I knew about Eliana's feelings. When I said no, he nodded and went back to reading his book. My mom called yesterday. She said Eliana has been staying at her house since Saturday, crying constantly. She says Eliana feels terrible about ruining the rehearsal dinner and wants to make things right. She asked if I would talk to Eliana, but I told her I'm not ready. The wedding is in 12 weeks. We've paid for everything. The invitations are already sent. I don't know if Eliana expected me to call off the wedding after her speech, or if she thought David would leave me for her, or if she really just lost control after drinking. I don't know if I can trust anything she's ever told me about supporting my relationship with David. I keep thinking about all the times Eliana seemed uncomfortable around David, all the times she left when he was visiting, all the times she brought other people when she came to see us. I thought she just needed time to adjust to me being in a serious relationship. Now I wonder if every conversation we had about David was torture for her. I also keep thinking about how helpful she was with wedding planning, how excited she seemed about being my maid of honor. Was she planning to confess all along? Was she hoping something would happen to break us up before the wedding? Did she volunteer to be my maid of honor so she could be close to David? David said yesterday that he wants to postpone the wedding. He says he needs to understand what happened before we can move forward. He says he's questioning everything about our relationship now, wondering if Eliana was trying to sabotage us from the beginning. He says he doesn't know if he can trust that our relationship is real if my own sister was in love with him the whole time. I don't know what to do. I love David, and I thought he loved me. But now he's questioning our entire relationship because of Eliana's confession. I'm angry at Eliana for keeping this secret for years, for ruining our rehearsal dinner, for putting this doubt in David's mind. But I'm also confused about why she chose that moment to confess, in front of our entire family, if she really just wanted to step down as maid of honor. The worst part is that I don't know if anything about my relationship with David is real. Did he really choose me, or did he just end up with me because Eliana never said anything? Would he have picked her if she had spoken up first that night? Am I just the consolation prize? Update 1: A lot has happened since my original post. I want to thank everyone who commented and messaged me. Reading your perspectives helped me figure out what I needed to do. First, about David. We postponed the wedding. David said he needed space to think about everything, so he's been staying at his friend Mike's apartment for the past 2 weeks. We've talked on the phone a few times, but the conversations are awkward and short. He keeps saying he needs more time to process what happened. Last week, David's mom called me. She said David has been a mess since the rehearsal dinner. He's not sleeping, barely eating, calling in sick to work. She said he loves me but doesn't know how to handle the situation with Eliana. She asked if I thought Eliana's confession was true or if she was just drunk and saying things she didn't mean. I told her I believed Eliana was telling the truth about her feelings, but I didn't think she was trying to break us up. David's mom said she was worried David was using this as an excuse to run away from commitment. She said he had done something similar with his ex-girlfriend 2 years before we met, found a reason to end things when they started talking about moving in together. This surprised me because David had told me his previous relationship ended because they wanted different things. He never mentioned anything about commitment issues. When I asked David's mom for more details, she said I should talk to David directly about his past relationships. I called David that night and asked him to meet me for coffee. He agreed, but said he could only talk for an hour because he had plans with Mike. We met at the coffee shop where we had our first date. David looked terrible. He had lost weight and had dark circles under his eyes. When I asked how he was doing, he said he hadn't been sleeping well. He kept apologizing for how he had been handling things, but said he didn't know what else to do. I asked him about what his mom had said about his ex-girlfriend. David got defensive and said his mom didn't understand the situation. When I pressed him for details, he admitted that he had ended his last relationship when his girlfriend started talking about marriage. He said he panicked and convinced himself they weren't compatible. He said the situation with Eliana made him realize he might be doing the same thing with us. He said maybe he was looking for an excuse to run away when things got serious. But he also said he couldn't stop thinking about whether Eliana's confession meant our relationship was built on a lie. I asked him directly if he had ever been interested in Eliana. He said no, he had always seen her as my sister. But then he said something that made my stomach drop. He said he wondered if Eliana would have been a better match for him because she was more outgoing and confident than me. That comment hurt more than anything Eliana had said at the rehearsal dinner. I told David that if he thought Eliana would be a better girlfriend, he should go find out. I got up and left the coffee shop. David called me that night crying. He said he didn't mean what he said about Eliana being a better match. He said he was confused and scared and taking it out on me. He begged me to give him another chance to work through this together. I told him I needed space now too. I said I couldn't be with someone who was comparing me to my sister or looking for excuses to run away when things got difficult. I told him to call me when he decided whether he actually wanted to be with me or not. Now for Eliana. She's been trying to contact me constantly since the rehearsal dinner. She leaves voicemails crying and apologizing. She sent flowers to my work with a note saying she would do anything to fix this. She even showed up at my house last week, but I didn't answer the door. My mom has been calling me every few days asking me to talk to Eliana. She says Eliana is in a really bad place, not eating or sleeping, took time off work. She says Eliana never meant to hurt me and was just trying to be honest before the wedding. Yesterday, my mom told me something that changed everything. She said Eliana had come to her house the week before the rehearsal dinner asking for advice. Eliana had told my mom she was in love with David and didn't know what to do. She said she couldn't watch me marry him without telling someone the truth. My mom said she told Eliana she had two choices, tell me privately before the wedding or keep the secret forever. My mom said she never imagined Eliana would confess in front of everyone at the rehearsal dinner. She said Eliana called her the next morning saying she didn't remember most of what happened that night and asked what she had said. This made me realize Eliana wasn't planning to ruin the rehearsal dinner. She was probably planning to talk to me privately, but lost control when she got emotional during the speech. It doesn't excuse what she did, but it makes me understand her mindset better. I also learned something else from my mom. She told me that when David and I first started dating, Eliana asked her advice about whether she should tell me she had feelings for David. My mom told her it was too late since David and I were already together, and it would only hurt everyone involved. My mom said Eliana cried for hours that day. She said Eliana asked if my mom thought David would have chosen her if she had spoken up first. My mom told her there was no point in thinking about what might have happened, and Eliana needed to focus on being happy for me. Knowing this made me see Eliana's behavior over the past 3 years differently. She wasn't trying to sabotage my relationship or steal David away from me. She was trying to protect me from getting hurt while dealing with her own pain. That doesn't make what she did at the rehearsal dinner okay, but it helps me understand why she kept her distance from David and why she seemed uncomfortable around us sometimes. Last night, I finally called Eliana back. She answered on the first ring and immediately started crying. She apologized over and over for ruining everything. She said she never meant to hurt me or David or anyone else at the dinner. I told her I knew she hadn't planned to confess in front of everyone. She said she had been planning to tell me privately the week before the wedding and asked to step down as maid of honor. She said she had too much wine at dinner and got emotional during her speech, and everything just came out. Eliana said the hardest part of the past 3 years wasn't being in love with David, it was lying to me about it. She said every time I asked her for relationship advice or complained about David, she wanted to tell me the truth but was afraid of losing me. She said watching me plan the wedding was torture, but she didn't want to ruin my happiness. I asked her if she ever tried to interfere with my relationship with David. She swore she never did anything to try to break us up. She said she actually gave David advice about how to make me happy on several occasions. She said she wanted me to be happy, even if it meant being with the man she loved. Eliana also told me something that surprised me. She said David had always been kind to her, but he never showed any romantic interest in her. She said he would ask her about my favorite things, what I was stressed about, how to cheer me up when I was sad. She said it was obvious he was completely focused on me. She said that made her feelings worse in some ways because she could see how much David loved me. She said she never had any illusion that David would choose her over me, which is why she never said anything. At the end of our conversation, Eliana asked if there was any way we could fix our relationship. She said she understood if I needed time and space, but she couldn't handle the thought of losing me forever. She said I was the most important person in her life, and she would rather live with the pain of loving David than lose her sister. I told her I wasn't ready to forgive her yet, but I didn't want to lose her either. I said I needed time to figure out how to trust her again. She said she would wait as long as it took and would do whatever I needed her to do to earn my trust back. So now I'm dealing with a postponed wedding, a fiancé who's questioning our entire relationship, and a sister who's been in love with my fiancé for years. I don't know if David and I will get back together. I don't know if Eliana and I can rebuild our relationship. I don't know if I'll ever feel secure in any relationship again, knowing that someone I trusted completely was keeping such a huge secret from me. The one thing I do know is that I'm tired of everyone else making decisions about my life. David is deciding whether he wants to be with me based on someone else's feelings. Eliana made a decision to confess her feelings without considering how it would affect me. My mom made a decision to give Eliana advice without telling me what was happening. I'm moving forward with my life whether David decides to come back or not. I'm not going to wait around for him to figure out whether our relationship is real. I know it was real for me, and that's all I can control. Update 2: I wasn't planning to post another update, but several people have messaged asking for news. The situation has gotten more complicated, and I could use some outside perspective. David and I are officially broken up. 3 weeks ago, he called and said he couldn't get past what happened at the rehearsal dinner. He said every time he looked at me, he thought about Eliana's confession and wondered if our relationship was based on deception. He said he loved me but couldn't trust that our love was genuine if my sister had been manipulating things from the beginning. I told him Eliana hadn't manipulated anything, that she had actually helped our relationship in many ways. I reminded him of all the times Eliana gave him advice about gifts for me, helped him plan surprises, supported our relationship publicly. David said that made it worse because it meant Eliana was a better actress than he thought. David also said he needed to figure out his own issues with commitment before he could be in any serious relationship. He admitted that his mom was right about him running away when things got serious. He said the situation with Eliana gave him an excuse to avoid dealing with his fear of marriage. I was angry that he was using Eliana's confession as a reason to end our relationship when the real issue was his commitment problems. I told him he was being a coward and using my sister's feelings as an excuse to run away from me. He said maybe I was right, but he couldn't change how he felt. We divided our things the next week. David moved back to his own apartment. We canceled the wedding vendors and lost most of our deposits. I kept the engagement ring because David said he couldn't look at it anymore. The hardest part was telling our families and friends. Most people were supportive, but a few people made comments about how they weren't surprised given what happened at the rehearsal dinner. David's mom called me crying and apologizing for her son's behavior. She said she knew David loved me but he was too scared to fight for our relationship. My relationship with Eliana has been slowly improving. We've been meeting for lunch once a week for the past month. The conversations are still awkward sometimes, but we're rebuilding trust. Eliana has been seeing a counselor to work through her feelings about David and her guilt about the rehearsal dinner. Last week, Eliana told me something that made me see David differently. She said 2 months before the rehearsal dinner, David had asked her about my ring size because he was thinking about upgrading my engagement ring for our anniversary. Eliana said David seemed excited about surprising me and talked about how he couldn't wait to see my reaction. She said David also asked her about my thoughts on having kids soon after marriage. Eliana told him I wanted to wait a few years to focus on my career first. David said that was fine with him, he just wanted to make sure they were on the same page about timing. Eliana said based on those conversations, she believed David was genuinely excited about marrying me and starting a life together. She said his behavior after her confession seemed completely different from how he had been talking about our relationship before. This made me think David really was using Eliana's confession as an excuse to run away from commitment. It hurt to realize the man I thought wanted to spend his life with me was actually looking for a way out. But then something happened that made the situation even more complicated. Last Tuesday, I was having lunch with my friend Sarah, Eliana's old roommate who introduced me to David. Sarah had been at the rehearsal dinner and witnessed Eliana's confession. Sarah told me she had information about that night that I needed to know. She said after Eliana ran out of the house, Sarah followed her outside to make sure she was okay. She found Eliana in the backyard throwing up and crying. Sarah said Eliana was so drunk she could barely stand up. When Sarah asked what had happened, Eliana said she couldn't remember giving a speech. Sarah had to tell her what she had said. Eliana immediately started panicking and begging Sarah to tell her it wasn't real. Sarah said Eliana asked her to drive her home because she was too drunk to drive herself. On the way to Eliana's apartment, Eliana kept saying she had ruined everything and didn't know how she was going to face me again. She said she had never meant to say those things in public. This confirmed what my mom had told me about Eliana not remembering the confession. But then Sarah told me something else that shocked me. Sarah said that night wasn't the first time Eliana had gotten drunk and talked about David. She said at Eliana's birthday party last year, Eliana got very drunk and told Sarah she was in love with David. Sarah said she told Eliana she needed to either tell me the truth or find a way to get over it. Sarah said a few months later, Eliana called her crying after she saw engagement photos David and I had posted on social media. Eliana told Sarah she didn't know how she was going to get through the wedding. Sarah said she offered to talk to me about the situation, but Eliana begged her not to say anything. Sarah said she had been watching Eliana struggle with her feelings for months and was actually relieved when Eliana confessed at the rehearsal dinner because she thought it meant the secret was finally out. She said she never imagined David would react the way he did. Sarah also told me that Eliana had asked her multiple times whether she thought David had ever shown interest in her. Sarah said she always told Eliana no, David only ever talked about me when Eliana wasn't around. Sarah said David would ask about my favorite restaurants, what movies I wanted to see, what kind of flowers I liked. She said it was obvious David was completely focused on me. This conversation with Sarah made me realize how much Eliana had been suffering in silence. It also made me angrier at David for throwing away our relationship instead of trying to work through the situation together. But the biggest surprise came yesterday. David showed up at my apartment unannounced. He looked terrible, even worse than when I saw him at the coffee shop weeks ago. He said he had been thinking about everything and realized he made a mistake breaking up with me. David said he had been talking to a counselor about his commitment issues and realized he was using Eliana's confession as an excuse to run away from the best relationship he had ever had. He said he knew our love was real and he was sorry for questioning it. He asked if we could try again. He said he wanted to work through his commitment problems and learn how to fight for our relationship instead of running away when things got difficult. He said he missed me every day and realized he didn't want to live without me. I told David the first needed time to think about it. I said I was hurt that he had thrown away 3.5 years together instead of trying to work through the situation with me. I said I didn't know if I could trust him not to run away again the next time we faced a challenge. David said he understood and would wait for my answer. He said he would do whatever it took to prove he was serious about working through his issues and committing to our relationship. I'm torn about what to do. Part of me still loves David and wants to give him another chance. But another part of me is angry that he gave up on us so easily. I also worry that he's only coming back because he's lonely and scared, not because he's actually ready to commit. Eliana has been supportive of whatever decision I make. She said she would step back completely if David and I got back together, but she also said she thought David's timing was suspicious. She said she worried he might run away again if another challenge came up. My mom thinks I should give David another chance since he's acknowledging his problems and seeking help. My friends are split, some think he deserves another chance, others think he showed his true character by abandoning me when things got difficult. I don't know what to do. I love the man I thought David was, but I'm not sure that man actually exists. The David the first loved wouldn't have questioned our entire relationship because of someone else's feelings. The David the first loved would have fought for us instead of running away. I told David the first would give him an answer next week. I'm trying to figure out whether people really can change or if I'm just setting myself up to get hurt again. Update 3. This will be my last update. I wanted to share how everything turned out and thank everyone who offered advice and support over the past few months. I decided not to get back together with David. After thinking about it for a week, I realized I couldn't trust him not to run away again the next time we faced a challenge. When he showed up asking for another chance, he kept focusing on his commitment issues and fear of marriage, but he never really addressed why he questioned whether our relationship was real in the first place. The fact that he thought Eliana's confession meant our love was fake told me he never really understood our relationship. Someone who truly loved me would have been upset about the situation but wouldn't have doubted what we had together. David's reaction showed me he was looking for an excuse to leave, and Eliana's confession just gave him one. When I told David my decision, he got angry. He said I was being unfair and not giving him a chance to prove he had changed. He said he had been going to counseling and working on his issues. I told him I was glad he was getting help, but I couldn't be his practice girlfriend while he figured out how to commit to someone. David said I would regret this decision and that I was throwing away something good because of pride. That comment confirmed I was making the right choice. The David the first had fallen in love with would have respected my decision and wished me well, not tried to make me feel guilty for protecting myself. I haven't heard from David since the conversation 3 weeks ago. His mom called me last week to apologize for how he handled everything. She said she was disappointed in him for giving up on us so easily. She said she hoped we could stay in touch, but I told her it would be better for everyone if we made a clean break. My relationship with Eliana has gotten much stronger. We're not back to where we were before, but we're building something new that feels more honest. Eliana has been completely transparent about her feelings and her progress in counseling. She's also started dating someone new, a guy named Tom who works at her magazine. Eliana introduced me to Tom 2 weeks ago, and it was clear she has genuine feelings for him. She seems happier and more relaxed than I've seen her in years. She told me that working through her feelings about David in counseling helped her realize she had been holding on to an idealized version of him that wasn't based in reality. Eliana said she's grateful her confession happened because it forced her to confront feelings she had been avoiding for years. She said keeping that secret was exhausting and damaging her relationship with me. Now that everything is out in the open, we can rebuild our relationship on an honest foundation. We talked about the rehearsal dinner last week. Eliana said she knows she hurt me deeply and understands why I needed time to forgive her. She said she would always regret how she handled the situation, but she's learned from it. She promised she would never keep secrets from me again, especially about anything that could affect my relationships. I believe her. Eliana has always kept her word, and I can see she's genuinely committed to being honest with me going forward. The past few months have shown me that our relationship is strong enough to survive this kind of challenge. As for me, I'm doing well. I took a new job last month that pays better and gives me more responsibility. I moved to a smaller apartment that's just mine. I've been spending time with friends I neglected while I was focused on wedding planning. I'm not dating anyone yet, but I'm open to meeting someone new eventually. This whole experience taught me the importance of being with someone who will fight for the relationship when things get difficult, not someone who looks for excuses to run away. I also learned that secrets, even ones kept with good intentions, can be incredibly damaging. If Eliana had told me about her feelings years ago, it would have been painful, but we could have worked through it together. Instead, the secret grew bigger and more complicated until it exploded at the worst possible moment. Some people have asked if I think Eliana's confession was really an accident or if she planned it. After everything that's happened, I believe it was genuinely unplanned. Eliana was drunk, emotional, and had been carrying this secret for years. When she got up to give her speech about love and marriage, everything just came out. That doesn't excuse what happened, but it helps me understand it. Eliana wasn't trying to sabotage my wedding or steal David away from me. She was a woman in pain who lost control at the worst possible moment. The hardest part of this whole situation wasn't Eliana's confession or even David leaving me. It was realizing that the man I thought I knew well enough to marry was actually someone who would abandon me when things got complicated. That's a lesson I won't forget. I'm glad this happened before the wedding instead of after. Better to learn David's true character while we were engaged than to discover it 5 or 10 years into marriage when we had children and more complicated lives to untangle. Eliana and I are planning a sister's trip next month, just the two of us, something we haven't done in years. We're going to visit some national parks and spend time rebuilding our relationship without the pressure of family events or other people's opinions. I'm looking forward to it. Eliana will always be my sister, and I'm grateful we found our way back to each other. As for David, I wish him well, but I'm done looking backward. I'm focused on building a life that makes me happy, with people who will stick around when things get tough. Thank you to everyone who read my posts and offered support. Writing everything out helped me process what happened and figure out what I really wanted. Sometimes you need outside perspectives to see your situation clearly, and the comments here definitely helped me do that. I'm closing this chapter of my life and looking forward to whatever comes next. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2. My husband ignored my needs during pregnancy, and I was expected to cook for my in-laws every night while pregnant. When I refused, my marriage nearly ended. I never imagined I'd be in this situation, but here I am, 12 weeks pregnant and more stressed than I've ever been in my life. I'm Lily, 28F, and I've been married to Adam, 30M, for about 2 years now. We met 6 years ago at a mutual friend's barbecue. I remember being drawn to his easygoing nature and infectious laugh. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our shared love of obscure indie bands and terrible sci-fi movies. Our relationship progressed quickly after that. Within a year, we were living together, and a year after that, Adam proposed during a weekend trip to the beach. It was perfect, just the two of us, the sound of waves crashing, and a beautiful sunset. We got married in a small ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family. Everything seemed like a fairy tale. I should probably mention that Adam comes from a very close-knit family. They're the type that has Sunday dinners together every week and celebrates every minor holiday as if it's Christmas. At first, I found it endearing. My own family is much smaller and more spread out, so the warmth and togetherness of Adam's family was a nice change. When we first moved in together, Adam's mom, Carol, 55F, would stop by once a week with homemade meals or to help with laundry. I appreciated the gesture, even if it sometimes felt a bit intrusive. Adam's sister, Megan, 32F, lived just a few blocks away and would often pop in for coffee or to borrow something. It was all manageable then, and I tried to embrace the family-oriented lifestyle. Fast forward to now. We found out I was pregnant about a month ago. We were overjoyed. We'd been trying for a baby for about 6 months, and it finally happened. In our excitement, we decided to host a small dinner party to announce the news to our families. That's when the trouble started. Since the announcement, Adam's family has been showing up at our house almost every day. His mom, Carol, comes by in the afternoons to help with housework, which usually means rearranging things and criticizing my cleaning. Megan drops in unannounced with her kids, turning our quiet evenings into chaotic playdates. Even Adam's dad, Tom, 57M, who used to be content staying at home, now finds reasons to visit regularly. The problem is, I work full-time as a software developer at a demanding startup. I'm often coding until late in the evening, and I don't get home until around 6 p.m. most days. Adam works similar hours as a marketing manager for a large corporation. The real issue is that he keeps inviting his family over for dinner without checking with me first. And guess who's expected to cook for everyone? That's right, me. I've always enjoyed cooking. It used to be my way of unwinding after a long day. I'd put on some music, pour a glass of wine, before the pregnancy, of course, and lose myself in chopping vegetables and experimenting with new recipes. But now, it's become a huge burden. I'm exhausted after work, dealing with morning sickness that lasts all day, and the last thing I want to do is come home and cook for 6 to 8 people. Adam doesn't seem to understand how draining this is for me. He just expects me to whip up meals for his family at a moment's notice. When I try to explain that I'm too tired, he'll say something like, "Can't you just throw together a quick pasta dish?" As if feeding a crowd is no big deal. I've tried talking to Adam about this multiple times. I've explained how tired I am, how the constant visits are stressing me out, and how I need more time to rest. But he doesn't listen. He just says, "They're family, Lily. We can't turn them away." It's like he's completely blind to my needs. The situation is starting to affect my work. I'm falling behind on projects because I'm so exhausted all the time. My team leader has noticed and asked if everything was okay. I didn't know what to say. How do you explain that your husband's family is driving you to the brink of a breakdown? Last week, things came to a head. I had a particularly rough day at work. We were launching a new feature, and there were last-minute bugs that needed fixing. I didn't leave the office until 7 p.m., and I was feeling especially nauseous. All I wanted was to crawl into bed with some crackers and ginger ale. Instead, I came home to find Adam's parents, sister, brother-in-law, and their 2 kids all sitting in our living room. The kids were running around, screaming and knocking things over. Carol was in the kitchen, rifling through our cupboards and complaining about our lack of proper cooking utensils. Adam was lounging on the couch, beer in hand, looking completely relaxed. When he saw me, he cheerfully announced, "Look who's here." I told them you wouldn't mind whipping up dinner for everyone. That was the last straw. I lost it. I snapped at him, saying, "Then you can cook for them," and stormed off to our bedroom. Adam followed me, furious. He accused me of being disrespectful to his family and embarrassing him. We had a huge argument where he said I was trying to come between him and his family. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All I wanted was some peace and time to rest during my pregnancy. The next day, I packed a bag and went to stay with my parents. They live about an hour away, in the same town where I grew up. Being back in my childhood home has been both comforting and strange. My mom, 59F, has been wonderfully supportive, making sure I eat properly and get enough rest. My dad, 61M, is quieter about the whole thing, but I can tell he's worried. It's been a week, and Adam has barely reached out. He sent one text asking when I'm coming home, but that's it. No apology, no acknowledgement of my feelings. I'm starting to wonder if he even cares that I'm gone. I'm at a loss. I love Adam, I really do. When it's just the 2 of us, things are great. He can be thoughtful and caring, and we still make each other laugh. But I can't handle this situation anymore. His family is constantly in our space, and he seems to care more about their feelings than mine. I'm worried about the stress affecting my pregnancy. My doctor has already commented on my elevated blood pressure at my last checkup. But I also don't want to break up my marriage. The thought of being a single mother terrifies me. Am I overreacting? Should I just suck it up and deal with the constant visits? Or am I right to stand my ground? I could really use some advice on how to handle this situation. I feel like I'm at a crossroads, and I don't know which way to turn. Update 1. It's been about 2 weeks since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. Your comments really helped me gain perspective on the situation and gave me the courage to take action. After spending a week at my parents' house, I decided it was time to face the music. The distance had given me some clarity, but I knew I couldn't hide forever. I called Adam and asked if we could meet at a neutral place to talk. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe near our house, a place where we used to have weekend brunch dates before all this drama started. When I arrived at the cafe, Adam was already there. He looked tired and a bit disheveled, which was unusual for him. He's typically very put together, always dressed sharply for his corporate job. Seeing him like this made me realize that the situation was affecting him too, even if he hadn't shown it before. The conversation was tense at first. Adam was still angry about how I disrespected his family. He brought up the night I snapped, saying his mom had been hurt by my behavior. I took a deep breath, reminding myself to stay calm. I explained how overwhelmed and unsupported I felt. I told him about the physical and emotional toll of working full-time while pregnant, then coming home to cook for a crowd several times a week. I reminded him of our life before we got married. How we used to have quiet evenings together, trying out new recipes or binge watching our favorite shows. I told him I missed that connection with him, that it felt like his family had taken over our lives. To my surprise, Adam actually listened this time. He admitted he hadn't really considered how difficult it must be for me. He apologized for not being more considerate and for accusing me of trying to come between him and his family. He said he'd been so excited about becoming a father that he wanted to share every moment with his family, but he realized now that he'd gone overboard. We spent hours at that cafe, talking through our issues. It reminded me of our early dating days when we'd lose track of time just talking and laughing together. By the end of our conversation, we had agreed on some ground rules moving forward, like, no more surprise dinner guests. If Adam wants to invite his family over, he needs to discuss it with me first. If we do have dinner guests, Adam will be responsible for cooking or ordering takeout. We'll limit family visits to once a week, giving us more time to ourselves. Adam promised to be more attentive to my needs during the pregnancy. I felt cautiously optimistic as I moved back home. For about a week, Adam stuck to our agreement. He even cooked dinner one night when his sister Megan came over, and he made sure she left at a reasonable hour so I could get some rest. It felt like we were finally on the same page. But then, one evening, everything fell apart again. I had a particularly stressful day at work. We were behind schedule on a major project, and my boss had been breathing down my neck all day. I was looking forward to a quiet night in, maybe a warm bath and some Netflix. As I pulled into our driveway, I noticed an unfamiliar car parked in front of our house. My heart sank. When I walked in, I found Adam's mom, Carol, sitting in our living room. She had a stack of baby magazines on her lap and was talking animatedly about nursery designs. I looked at Adam, silently pleading with him to remember our agreement. He looked guilty but said nothing. Carol announced she was staying for dinner and started critiquing our house, saying it wasn't baby ready. She went on about how she had raised 3 children and knew exactly what we needed to do. I reminded Adam of our agreement, but he just shrugged and said, "It's just my mom, Lily. Don't make a big deal out of it." I felt betrayed and angry. All the progress we'd made seemed to evaporate in an instant. I excused myself and went to lie down, leaving Adam to deal with his mother. I could hear Carol's voice drifting up from the kitchen, talking about how sensitive pregnant women can be and how Adam needed to be patient with me. It took every ounce of self-control not to march downstairs and give her a piece of my mind. Later that night, after Carol had gone home, we had another argument. Adam accused me of being too sensitive and said I needed to be more accommodating to his family. I countered that he needed to respect our agreements and stand up for me. I reminded him of everything we'd talked about at the cafe, but it was like he'd forgotten it all. The argument ended with Adam sleeping on the couch and me feeling more alone than ever. I lay awake most of the night, rubbing my slightly swollen belly and wondering how things had gone so wrong. The next day, I called in sick to work. I couldn't face my team in this state. I spent the day researching pregnancy support groups and therapists in our area. I knew I needed help to navigate this situation, whether Adam was on board or not. I'm starting to wonder if this marriage can survive. The stress is affecting my health, and I'm worried about the baby. My morning sickness, which had started to subside, has come back full force. I've lost weight instead of gaining it, and my doctor is concerned. I've decided to schedule an appointment with a marriage counselor. If Adam won't go with me, I'll go alone. I need to figure out what's best for me and my baby, even if that means making some tough decisions. I love Adam, and I want our marriage to work. But I'm beginning to realize that love might not be enough. I need a partner who respects me, supports me, and puts our little family first. Right now, I'm not sure if Adam is that partner. Thank you all for listening. I'll update again when I have more news. Update 2. It's been a month since my last update, and I wish I had better news to share. The situation with Adam and his family has only gotten worse, despite my best efforts to salvage our relationship. After the incident with Carol's surprise visit, I went ahead and booked an appointment with a marriage counselor. I told Adam about it and asked him to come with me. He reluctantly agreed, but on the day of the appointment, he called to say he couldn't make it due to a work emergency. I was disappointed but decided to go alone. The counselor, Dr. Martinez, was a kind woman in her 50s with a calm demeanor that immediately put me at ease. She listened patiently as I poured out my frustrations and fears. She gave me strategies to communicate more effectively with Adam and set boundaries with his family. She also emphasized the importance of prioritizing my health and the baby's well-being during this stressful time. Armed with this advice, I tried once again to talk to Adam. I waited until we were both relaxed one evening, sitting on the porch swing we'd bought when we first moved in. I explained how his actions were affecting me and our unborn child. I told him I needed his support and understanding. For a moment, I thought I was getting through to him. He nodded along, squeezing my hand and promising to do better. But then, a few days later, everything fell apart again. I came home from work, exhausted as usual, to find our house full of people. Adam had invited his entire extended family over for a pre-baby celebration. There were at least 15 people crammed into our living room, including young children running around and making noise. I spotted Adam's Aunt Susan, who I'd only met twice before at family gatherings. She was holding court in our kitchen, loudly proclaiming that she'd brought her famous casserole because she wasn't sure if I'd be up to cooking for everyone. Adam's cousins had taken over our TV, arguing over what game to play on our console. Carol was leading a group of relatives on a tour of the house, pointing out all the things that needed to be fixed before the baby arrived. I was overwhelmed and felt a panic attack coming on. The noise, the crowd, the implied criticism of my homemaking skills, it was all too much. I retreated to our bedroom, trying to calm my racing heart and quell the nausea rising in my throat. Adam followed me, demanding to know why I wasn't joining the party. When I reminded him of our agreement and the stress this was causing me, he exploded. He accused me of being selfish and said I was ruining his joy over becoming a father. He said his family had always been close-knit and I was trying to change that. The argument escalated, with both of us saying hurtful things. In the heat of the moment, Adam shouted, "If you can't accept my family, maybe you shouldn't be part of it." Those words hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized then that nothing was going to change. No matter how many times we talked, no matter how many agreements we made, Adam would always prioritize his family's wishes over my needs. I packed a bag right then and there, ignoring the concerned looks from Adam's family as I walked out the door. I couldn't bear to go to my parents' house again. I didn't want to worry them any more than I already had. Instead, I called my sister, Emily, 34F, who lives about an hour away. She immediately told me to come over. I've been staying with Emily for the past week. She's been incredibly supportive, helping me process everything that's happened. She even took a few days off work to be with me, distracting me with silly movies and late-night ice cream sessions like when we were teenagers. I've decided to take some time apart from Adam. I need to focus on my health and the baby's well-being. I've asked Adam not to contact me for a while, and surprisingly, he's respected that wish. The only message I've received from him was a brief text asking if I was safe and if the baby was okay. I appreciated that he asked, but it also hurt that he didn't seem to care about my emotional state. I'm now 18 weeks pregnant and starting to show. Emily went with me to my latest doctor's appointment, holding my hand as we listened to the baby's heartbeat. It breaks my heart that what should be a joyous time has turned into such a nightmare. I'm considering my options moving forward, including the possibility of separation or divorce. It's not what I wanted, but I have to do what's best for me and my child. I've scheduled another appointment with Dr. Martinez to help me navigate this difficult time. I'm also looking into legal advice to understand my rights and options. Emily's friend is a family law attorney, and she's offered to give me a free consultation. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time. I'm trying to eat well, get enough rest, and stay positive for the baby's sake. Emily has been amazing, helping me set up a small space in her guest room as a temporary nursery. We've been shopping for maternity clothes and baby essentials, trying to focus on the joy of preparing for the baby's arrival rather than the sadness of my current situation. Thank you all for your continued support. Your kind words and advice have been a lifeline during this difficult time. I'll update again when I have more news. Update 3, it's been 2 months since my last update, and I'm now 26 weeks pregnant. A lot has changed, and I wanted to share the latest developments with you all. After spending 3 weeks at my sister's place, I realized I needed to make some permanent decisions. I couldn't keep living in limbo, especially with the baby on the way. I reached out to Adam and asked if we could meet to discuss our future. We met at the park where he proposed to me. It seemed fitting somehow, to come full circle to where our journey together began. The conversation was difficult, but necessary. Adam seemed different, more subdued and reflective. He told me he'd been doing a lot of thinking while I was gone. To my surprise, he apologized sincerely for his behavior. He admitted that he'd been so caught up in his excitement about becoming a father that he'd neglected my needs and feelings. He said he'd had long talks with his parents and sister, and they all realized how overwhelming their constant presence had been for me. Adam shared that he'd started seeing a therapist on his own, which honestly shocked me. He'd always been skeptical of therapy, saying it was for weak people. Hearing that he'd taken this step on his own showed me he was serious about changing. He asked if I would consider coming back home, promising things would be different. He said he'd set clear boundaries with his family, limiting their visits to once a week and always with advance notice. He also promised to take on more responsibility around the house, including cooking when we have guests. I was cautiously optimistic but still hesitant. I told Adam I needed more time to think about it. I went back to my sister's place and spent the next few days weighing my options. Emily was supportive but cautious, reminding me to put myself and the baby first, whatever I decided. After much consideration and discussions with my sister and Dr. Martinez, I decided to give our marriage another chance. I moved back home last week, and so far, Adam has been true to his word. His family hasn't visited once without calling ahead first. When his parents did come over for dinner last weekend, Adam cooked the entire meal himself. It wasn't perfect, the chicken was a bit dry and the vegetables overcooked, but the effort meant a lot to me. We've also been attending couples counseling together, which has been helping us communicate better and understand each other's perspectives. It's not always easy, and we've had a few heated moments during sessions, but we're both committed to making it work. I'm cautiously hopeful about our future. The baby is due in about 3 months, and I'm starting to feel excited again rather than stressed. We've been working on the nursery together, and it feels like we're finally on the same team. Adam has been much more attentive to my needs. He's been coming to all my prenatal appointments, asking questions, and taking notes. He even signed us up for a childbirth class, something I never thought he'd be interested in. His family has also made efforts to respect our boundaries. Carol called to apologize for her behavior, admitting she had been overbearing in her excitement about becoming a grandmother. She asked how she could support us better, which was a huge step forward. I know we still have a long way to go, and I'm staying vigilant to ensure Adam continues to respect my boundaries. But for now, I'm choosing to focus on the positive changes and hope for a brighter future for our little family. Thank you all for your support throughout this difficult journey. Your advice and encouragement have been invaluable. I'll post another update after the baby arrives. Wish us luck.